Just a very quick review of the film Gravity, which I went to see last night. Quite surprisingly, it's still playing at cinemas. It opened like early November, from what I understand, in the UK, and I went to see it last night, which was the 28th of December. So it's still getting a lot of play as well in the theatres, but I got to say, it's one of the best films I've seen in 3D. I've been to see quite a lot, and if you've seen my other reviews, you'll know that 3D is something that I really aren't a big fan of. I just see it as a gimmick. I mean, it looks alright, but I think your eyes just kind of adapt to it after a while, and some people even give a bit of headache as well, kind of thing, because it kind of feels like it's straining on your eyes a bit. I know when I'm watching films in 3D, I have to sometimes kind of like look away and then look back because your eyes just adapt to it, or at least some people's do anyway. I know mine do. So, but this film, anyway, Gravity, the 3D effects in this were really good. I think this is the kind of film that should be in 3D. I think nowadays they just kind of knock anything out that they can in that medium. But this was really one that was appropriate for it, because I think what it is, in a lot of normal films that you have in 3D, it tends to present itself as you've got background and whatever is kind of in the forefront. But if you've got backgrounds with depth, so you've got like certain distances between things, so you've got like different layers, you've only really got two layers. You've got the background and the image that's at the front of the screen. So it kind of gives it a feeling of depth, but when you've got different levels of depth, it's only really presented with two differences, the background and the image in the front. It doesn't really kind of work. It doesn't look realistic. It just kind of looks weird and kind of holographic. Which, you know, if you like that, fair enough. But with Gravity, it's kind of appropriate because you don't have a lot of background going on. You've just got space or the planet Earth in the background, or maybe some kind of space station or whatever, and that's in the background, and then you'll have the character in the front. So it really does kind of make you feel like you are immersed in it. I mean, the screen that I saw this one on, bearing in mind it's been on for about a month and a half now at cinemas, it was a fairly small screen, but the effect of it was really quite good. It felt like I was kind of immersed in it, which is the way it should be, really. I mean, I think if I'd have seen this, I don't know if it's presented in IMAX, but if it was, that would be really good. I would have liked to have seen that. But the film itself, anyway, it's not really what I expected. I thought it was going to be like that film 128 Hours, which is a film about a guy who gets it's based on a true story about a guy who gets his hand trapped in a kind of a canyon in a rock, and he can't get out, and he has to cut his arm off to get out. It's based on a true story, like I say, but pretty much most of the film is him on his own in this cavern, and obviously it's not just that. It has like dream sequences and like flashbacks to his like earlier memories and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a psychological thing, and I thought that's kind of what Gravity was going to be. I thought stuff's going to happen in space, and then it's going to have like flashbacks to like here on Earth and all that kind of stuff, but there's none of that, which is good, because it's full of like, it's got a pace to it, and it isn't interrupted with that kind of stuff. You're constantly focusing on what's happening in space to the characters. There's only really two actors in this, George Clooney and Sandra Bullock. You don't really see anyone else. There is another guy, well, there's a couple of astronauts, but you don't really get to see them. You don't get to sort of identify with them because there's no actors that play him. There's a guy that you see early on in the film, and he's in a spacesuit, so he's got a voice, and there's like a few people's voices here on radios and stuff like that. But there's no actual actors in it other than Sandra Bullock and George Clooney. And I'm not a big fan of Sandra Bullock. In fact, I kind of actively dislike her, to be honest. She always plays the same kind of bimbo character. And that's kind of what I saw her as in this. I didn't really buy that she was an astronaut. But nevertheless, you know, she's quite good in the film anyway. And they could have got somebody better, I guess, but it doesn't really matter. And George Clooney, I'm a big fan of his earlier stuff, where I've pretty much seen every episode of ER, and I used to love the early ones of that as well. I think he was in the first 5 series.
Sometimes it's impossible to save a kid's life, and the only thing we can do is save them from suffering. Leave them with a little dignity. In the end, that's all they have.
And everything I've seen him in, he's pretty much been George Clooney, and that's what he is in this as well. Which isn't a bad thing, because he kind of sells, you know, like confidence and charisma, that kind of thing. I know he's a bit of an ego in real life with a lot of the stuff he does, but as far as from an acting point of view, he's quite good to watch anyway. Like, you know, in terms of his charisma, his on-screen presence, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of that in this. But kind of a bit of a spoiler as well. If you don't want spoilers, I'd switch this off now because I'm probably going to ruin the film by telling you. But his character gets killed off fairly early on in the film. And it's a typical kind of cliche thing, a bit like Armageddon, like, oh, I'm going to have to sacrifice myself so that you can live, because if, you know, you're trying to save me, but if you try to save me, you're going to end up dying with me, so I'm just going to kind of let myself go to save you. It's a bit cliche. I've seen it all before in films, nothing new about that, but it's kind of a shame really that they killed him off earlier. It would have been really good to see a bit more of that, but I think that from the rest of the film, I'd say about the other 2/3 of the film is pretty much Sandra Bullock on her own trying to like escape, trying to get back down to Earth. But no, other than that, not really much else to say. I would recommend it anyway. I would recommend seeing it in the cinema if it's still playing. Which is doubtful, like I say. I mean, it's been on for about a month and a half now, but if there's a cinema that's still showing it, and it's in 3D as well, I would definitely go see it. I would recommend that you go see it. I'll probably get it when it comes out to buy, but I don't think it'll be the same kind of experience as it was in the cinema, because this film really was made to be seen in 3D on a cinema screen. But I might never know, you might have a 3D TV. It's not something that I would pay money for, because like I say, I think it's a gimmick. But if you have a big 3D TV, it might still have some of the same effect that it has in cinemas, I guess. So, recommend it anyway. I don't really have much else to say, so I think I'll wrap this up. Thank you very much for watching.